Brian Thomas Jr. wasn't on the block because he failed. He was available because someone misused him. That's the distinction Todd Monken and the Browns are betting on, with Shedeur Sanders surging into Pro Bowl status. Monken launched a system recalibration rooted in high-stakes specificity. The search wasn't for just another weapon. It was for one with built-in explosive chemistry, proven vertical aggression, and high-point reliability. Thomas Jr.'s brief statistical dip in Jacksonville became leverage. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Not liability. Once Cleveland traced the calls back to Shane Waldron's limiting play design, this isn't guesswork. It's extraction. Thomas Jr. checks every box that Jeudy, through no personal failing, doesn't. Cleveland didn't wait to see if Jeudy could stretch the field. They ruled it out. They didn't wait to see if another rookie receiver might develop. They identified and pursued the one whose college tape already mirrors the system Sanders needs. And they didn't hesitate to attach a first-round pick. That's what strategic conviction looks like. With Monken at the helm, fit isn't a buzzword. It's the only metric. The second Shedeur Sanders became a Pro Bowl quarterback, Todd Monken didn't ask who deserved to stay. He asked who could thrive inside the version of the offense that Sanders required. And when the system called for verticality, separation, and contested catch dominance, Jeudy, despite his skill, effort, and production, didn't check those boxes. Not even close. That's the brutal math Monken brought to the table. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't performative. It was structural. A cold calculation rooted in scheme, not sentiment. The real shift wasn't just in the playbook. It was in the philosophy. The Browns aren't evaluating players in isolation anymore. They're not running down resumes or watching highlight reels to decide who gets a roster spot. Everything is filtered through a single, unforgiving lens. Does this help Shedeur Sanders win games right now? That's not rhetoric. That's an operational doctrine. It's why Jeudy's skill set, built for timing, intermediate spacing, and control releases, was suddenly obsolete. Not because he got worse, but because the offense got sharper, faster, wilder. Monken's offense lives in the deep third of the field. It's aggressive by design, unpredictable by necessity, and constantly operating just outside the structure of traditional football logic. That's how Sanders thrives. Improvising under pressure, launching strikes on a run, dissecting defenses not with predictability, but with improvisational violence. And in that ecosystem, a precision route runner who needs rhythm and structure becomes a bottleneck. That's where Brian Thomas Jr. comes in. He's not a projection. He's a solution. A 6'4" deep ball killer with proven production at both the college and professional level. He's built for the kind of football Sanders plays. Fast, physical, vertical. His connection with Jaden Daniels in college wasn't a footnote. It was a flashing signpost. A working blueprint for how a quarterback like Sanders can turn a physically dominant receiver into a weakly mismatch machine. And Monken understood that kind of pre-existing chemistry isn't just helpful, it's a risk reducer. It takes the guesswork out of integration. Thomas Jr. already knows how to react when his quarterback escapes pressure. He already understands how to manipulate a defender deep, how to high-point a ball mid-chaos, how to adjust his body in motion. That's not theory. That's lived experience. It's also why Cleveland didn't flinch at the idea of giving up a first-round pick. Because this wasn't a flyer. This wasn't hope. This was asset conversion. Swapping a future, maybe for a current yes. The Browns weren't just buying talent. They were buying alignment, systemic coherence, an immediate, demonstrable upgrade for a scheme that's now unapologetically quarterback-driven. And it didn't happen in a vacuum. This was the culmination of a broader cultural inflection point, where Cleveland stopped trying to be competent and started trying to be elite. No more patience for players who might grow into roles. No more room for sentiment or tenure-based protection. If you don't fit, you don't stay. That message isn't just for the wide receiver room. It echoes across the entire roster. Offensive line, you're now evaluated by how well you move with quarterback, not how well you anchor in place. Slide protection, recovery speed, mental processing, those are your new KPIs. Because a quarterback like Sanders isn't static. So if you are, you're a liability. Tight ends, you're now spacing tools. Route diversifiers. Contingency outlets on broken plays. You don't just block or chip anymore. You stretch the middle third, occupy safeties, create vertical windows Sanders can exploit. You are either part of the spacing solution or part of the problem. Even coaching structure is being reshaped. Development now flows through the quarterback room. Quarterback-centric means quarterback first. That doesn't mean coddling. It means accountability. Every assistant, every install, every adjustment exists to enhance Sanders' ability to operate, improvise, and dominate. That's what Monken meant by disciplined urgency. He's not sprinting toward chaos. He's operating with ruthless precision, acting decisively inside a finite window of elite quarterback play before defenses adjust, before expectations harden, before opportunity calcifies. And make no mistake, the Browns understand the stakes. They know what happens when a breakout quarterback year is squandered, when a system doesn't evolve fast enough, when the weapons don't match the quarterback's skill set, when the culture softens and old habits creep back in. That's why they pass on alternatives that might have looked good on paper. Another rookie wide out, too much variance. George Pickens, too much volatility. A restructure around Jeudy, too much compromise. Monken didn't want possibilities. He wanted solutions. Repeatable, scalable, reliable production that amplifies a quarterback immediately. And Thomas Jr. was the only receiver on the board who met every single criteria. Not just the numbers, but the film, the context, the chemistry, the usage pattern, and most importantly, the system fit. Even Thomas Jr.'s late season dip in Jacksonville wasn't a red flag, because Monken and his staff did their homework. They traced that decline to Shane Waldron's system, a playbook that's historically stifled wide receiver output. The tape didn't show regression. It showed misuse, misalignment, a Ferrari stuck in a school zone. Cleveland saw that and moved fast. That kind of evaluation doesn't happen in the draft room. It happens in the war room. It's not about metrics. It's about meaning. The Browns aren't just scouting players anymore. They're scouting contexts, systems, fit. It's how they've pivoted from a development-first identity to a win-now, quarterback-maximized machine. And Monken isn't apologizing for that shift. He's accelerating it. So if you're still wondering why Jerry Jeudy was phased out, the answer is simple. This isn't about respect. It's about relevance. And Jeudy's game, as solid as it is, didn't translate into the new reality. There's no animosity here, just structural inevitability. Monken didn't need to tell the media why Jeudy wasn't involved. He told the offense, with scheme, with reps, with packages designed for different body types, different routes, different tendencies. Thomas Jr. didn't take Jeudy's job. He redefined it, and the ripple effects are already being felt. There's a new energy in Cleveland. Not hype, not noise, clarity. The Browns finally know who they are, not in theory, but in application. They're building a system that doesn't leave room for theoretical upside. Every snap counts. Every fit matters. Every move has purpose. So when you hear that Monken silenced Jeudy's narrative, it's not because he got the last word. It's because he never wasted one in the first place. The system spoke louder than any interview ever could. If you're watching this shift unfold and thinking, finally, this is what direction looks like, go ahead and like the video, drop your take in the comments, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. Because this version of the Browns, they're not waiting around anymore. They're moving with intention. And the lead better catch up. Fast. Because once the culture changes, it doesn't go back. That's what makes Todd Monken's decisions so significant. They aren't temporary. This isn't some mid-season patch or one-year gimmick to capitalize on Shedeur Sanders' rookie hype. This is a blueprint, a systemic overhaul baked into the DNA of the franchise, a deliberate break from the past, where players were plugged in based on reputation or familiarity or draft pedigree, even if the fit was shaky. That tolerance, it's dead. And no one symbolizes that cultural death quite like Jerry Jeudy. Again, this isn't about calling Jeudy overrated. It's not about diminishing his contributions or questioning his work ethic. It's about being honest about what Cleveland has become and what it refuses to return to. Jeudy thrived in systems that emphasized structure, timing, quick reads, controlled environments. He is, by every measure, a technically sound NFL wide receiver. But in Monken's world, that's not enough. The new offense doesn't want structure reliability. It wants explosive chaos. It wants vertical threats who can beat double coverage off the line and still go up and win a contested catch. It wants receivers who create downfield stress, not just spacing underneath. It wants a unit that challenges defenses every single snap, not just by route design, but by raw, unteachable traits. Length, speed, power. Jeudy? He's a possession technician. He's not beating press with violent hands or erasing a safety's angle on a go route. He's not flipping field position in one motion. And in an offense that lives or dies by big plays and post-snap improvisation, that simply won't cut it. And the Browns didn't hedge. They didn't ask, can we still get something out of him? They asked, does this serve Shedeur? The answer was no. So they moved. That's the new Cleveland Browns. No more dragging decisions out across months of media speculation. No more PR tap dances about player roles or seeing how the season unfolds. Monken sets the direction. The personnel either fits or it doesn't. There's no third option. And that laser focus has already started reorienting the rest of the roster. It's not just about bringing in Brian Thomas Jr., although that move is seismic. It's about the ripple effect of that decision, about what it signals to the rest of the locker room, to the veterans, to the fringe guys, to the rising stars. This isn't about favoritism or resume worship. This is about cold, ruthless fit. Monken and the front office didn't fall in love with Thomas Jr. because he's flashy. They zeroed in on him because he works. His size, his speed, his deep ball ability, his rapport with Jaden Daniels. It all aligns perfectly with what Shedeur needs. And when Jacksonville misused him under a system that suffocated wideouts, Cleveland didn't blink. They saw past the dip. They saw value. That's the brilliance here. They didn't scout a player. They scouted circumstances. Because Monken understands something most teams pretend to. Stats without context mean nothing. A receiver's numbers in a broken system are just data points, unless you know why they dipped. And Monken knew why. He looked at Shane Waldron's history, saw the pattern. Receivers getting stifled, and realized Thomas Jr. wasn't regressing. He was suffocating. So Cleveland turned dysfunction into opportunity. They acted on what the league often fails to, contextual intelligence. And they paid like they meant it. A first-round pick? That's not casual. That's not worth a look. That's conviction. That a franchise no longer afraid to bet on itself. Because betting on Thomas Jr. is really betting on Sanders. It's trusting the idea that if you give your elite rookie quarterback the right pieces, not just talented ones, but compatible ones, you don't just keep the offense moving. You ignite it. And the Browns aren't waiting for that to happen organically. They're forcing it now. Every roster move now follows this logic. Offensive line upgrades are no longer about brute strength. They're about agility, recovery time, and how well they function when the pocket breaks. Tight ends aren't evaluated on block percentage. They're judged by how well they contribute to spacing and contingency routes when Sanders rolls out. Even the coaching hires are different. Staff are being brought in based on their ability to develop quarterback-centric systems, not general experience. This is what quarterback-centric actually looks like, not buzzwords, but alignment. It's also why Cleveland passed on the George Pickens route. The temptation was there. Big name, explosive talent, but volatile personality, inconsistent commitment, and questionable system fit. In Monken's eyes, that's a non-starter. The chaos this offense demands is calculated, predictable, strategic, not random. Because the moment you add volatility to an already high-risk, high-reward system, it doesn't elevate, it collapses. That's the difference between Brian Thomas Jr. and every other potential acquisition. He's not chaos. He's structure within chaos. A weapon who thrives in uncertainty but doesn't create unnecessary instability. That's how you build a contending offense. And that's exactly what Monken is doing. So yes, Jerry Jeudy's exclusion is a message. It's a line in the sand. It's Monken saying loud and clear, no matter how good you are, no matter how polished your game, if you don't enhance the quarterback's immediate impact, You're not part of this. There's no shade in that. No disrespect. Just pure, unapologetic football logic. And when you operate like that, when you start holding everyone to that standard, the ceiling of the team goes through the roof because the floor gets higher. The competition gets real. The roles get sharper. No more security blankets. No more earning snaps based on seniority. You contribute or you don't. It's binary. That's how contenders act. And that's why the league is going to be watching Cleveland a lot differently this season. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just a rookie surprise anymore. He's the system. He's the identity. And Monken, he's not just riding the wave. He's building it, shaping the entire franchise around the very specific, elite traits that Sanders brings. Pocket mobility, off-platform power, deep ball precision, improvisational fire. This isn't a quarterback fitting into a pre-existing scheme. This is a scheme being hand-stitched around a quarterback's DNA. Every receiver, every lineman, every motion, every route, engineered to put Sanders in position to do exactly what he does best. And Jeudy didn't fit, so Monken didn't fight it. He didn't try to reshape Jeudy. He didn't try to jam him into a role he was never built for. He just moved on, with zero drama, zero compromise. That's what leadership looks like. Because when you know what your team actually is, you stop wasting time on what it used to be. That's Cleveland right now. Sharper, faster, smarter. Finally operating with intentionality instead of inertia. And if the rest of the NFL doesn't take this shift seriously, they're going to learn the hard way. This isn't about hype. This is about direction. Monken gave the Browns one, and everyone, from the front office to the locker room, is either aligned with it or on their way out. This isn't the same old Cleveland. This is the version that doesn't blink. The version that doesn't ask, is he good? But rather, is he what we need right now? That shift, small in wording, massive in consequence, is why Jeudy is on sidelines of this new era. For years, the Browns were stuck in a loop. Draft, develop, delay. Sign players based on safe fits, on potential, on the idea that cohesion would come in time if they just gave everyone enough runway. They built rosters like insurance policies, diversified, cautious, safe. And it got them nowhere. Todd Monken didn't come to Cleveland to play it safe. He came to rewire the offense around what wins, not in theory, but in today's league. And the only thing that wins consistently in today's NFL? Elite quarterback play, maximized in real time. That's why everything changed the moment Shedeur Sanders proved he was more than hype. A fifth-round pick? Doesn't matter. Rookie label? Irrelevant. When you got a quarterback who's calm in chaos, accurate deep, mobile under pressure, and fearless when plays break down, you build around him immediately. And the key word there is around. Not alongside, not with, around. The offense isn't a system Shedeur is stepping into. The offense is now being designed with Shedeur as the centerpiece. Every snap, every read, every route concept, it's all drawn up with his traits in mind. Deep accuracy, movement, improvisation. That's the language he speaks. And Monken is writing the playbook in that language, fluently. So when people ask why Jeudy is getting edged out, they're asking the wrong question. The better question is, in this new offense, what purpose does Jeudy actually serve? He's polished, sure. He's consistent, sure. But in an offense built on off-script playmaking and vertical stress, what does a methodical intermediate route runner really offer? The answer? A rhythm that no longer exists. Monken doesn't want rhythm. He wants explosion, mismatch, shock plays, a defense that's guessing, not reacting. And if your game relies on perfect timing and quarterback predictability, you become a relic in a system that runs on disruption. That's where Brian Thomas Jr. fits perfectly. He's not just a burner. He's not just tall. He's built for the exact kind of football Sanders plays. You don't need to teach him how to react when the play breaks down. He already knows. His college tape shows it. Him turning chaos into touchdowns with Jaden Daniels, another improvisational quarterback who operates in the same paradigm as Sanders. That's not scouting. That's strategy. And when the Browns saw Thomas Jr. languishing in a Jacksonville offense that couldn't figure out how to use him, they didn't overthink it. They didn't panic about his dip in production. They pulled the trigger because they knew the truth. It wasn't his ability that dropped off. It was the system that buried him. So what looks like a risky move to the outside world, a first-round pick for a wideout with fading stat line, actually reveals how far ahead Cleveland is playing. They're not building through highlight reels. They're building through fit, through deep contextual analysis, through the kind of layered decision-making that turns underperformers into elite contributors the moment you put them in the right scheme. And for the Browns, that scheme is now entirely oriented around one thing: what makes Shedeur Sanders dangerous. That kind of clarity forces hard choices. Jeudy wasn't a bad player. He just became the wrong one. And Monken didn't let sentiment cloud that call. He didn't try to force a square peg into a system built entirely of sharp angles. He made the decision the old Browns never would have. He moved on while the players still had value, before the system had made compromises. That's what cultural accountability looks like. It's not about calling players out. It's about holding everyone, including coaches, staff, veterans, and rookies, to the same performance threshold. Elevate the quarterback or find the door. And that approach, it's infectious. Because when players see that even someone like Jeudy, respected, experienced, technically gifted, isn't immune to the fit test, it redefines the entire competitive environment. Complacency dies. Roles are earned, not protected. The depth chart becomes a meritocracy, not a hierarchy. And that matters, because in the NFL, culture eats talent for breakfast. When every player knows that scheme alignment matters more than pass production, you get sharper practices, faster installs, and clearer accountability. Nobody is coasting. Everybody is contributing, or they're not there for long. And the result of all this? A team that doesn't just have talent, but has the right talent, in the right roles, doing the right things to their quarterback. That's how you win in this league. Not with slogans, not with sentiment, with structure. Ruthless, coherent, quarterback-centered structure. Monken's not here to chase offensive balance or give everyone a turn. He's here to build a unit that turns Sanders into a nightmare for defenses. That means deep shots, broken plays that become touchdowns, vertical stacks, and mismatches created by movement, not volume. It's fast, it's sharp, it's explosive, and Jerry Jeudy simply wasn't built for it. So now the Browns are rolling with players who are built for it. Thomas Jr. fits the mold. The rest of the offense is adjusting. And the message is clear across the league. Cleveland is no longer interested in being competitive. They're trying to be dominant. And they're building from the quarterback out, not the depth chart down. If you've been watching this transformation unfold and thinking this feels different, you're absolutely right. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay with us as we follow this shift in real time. Because this version of the Browns, they're not following anyone's blueprint. They're drawing their own, and it's built around a quarterback the league underestimated. Not anymore.